Hey guys, it's Coach Tasha Delk.
Cleo the coach, what's going on?
Yes, guys, and we are here with Marriage Mondays.
Another one.
Yes, episode 3.
Yes.
Okay, episode 3. This is where we come to you guys and give you marriage advice from our experience. We're talking to singles, we're talking to newlyweds, we're talking to wives in waiting, husbands in waiting, and people who are in relationships. So we're pretty much talking to any relationship level. I think that the wisdom that we have been given behind our relationship as well as experience, I believe that we can really speak to a lot of different type of relationships and different levels. We're going to talk about today is blending families and making family adjustments. First of all, we were in 2 different states while dating. So we did a lot of long distance dating. That's actually one of the questions that we were asked. But today we're pretty much talking about blending families and how you deal with that. Co-parenting. Yes, definitely. For us, we're real big on energy. And so we really understand like how important energy is. And for the kids, we desire to have their energy at a level where when they walk into the room, you can feel their energy and just know that they come in with good vibes, positive vibes. We are a family that we do our best to place our morals and spiritual morals in a spiritual aspect. And so when you're co-parenting, and when you have blended family, those things can differ from household to household. And so for us, our youngest baby is by us collectively. So our 6'1", she has both parents who are in a spiritual journey in their lives and moving forward. So it's easier to have that influence with her as well as the other children that live in the household with us. It's easier to have that influence. But it's like once the children are out of when they're at their other parents' house, their other environments, it's less control that you have over that influence and over that energy. So we do our best, I feel like, keep our kids in that space, even in the separate spaces. It's hard, I think, especially like, I'll just use my situation, my co-parenting situation. For example, the communication isn't there between me and my kid's father. So the communication isn't there 100%. So that even makes it a little bit harder to be able to allow the kids to go over there and be uninfluenced by the communication. So we're a family where we really allow the kids to express themselves, and we feel like, because they have feelings too, so we feel like the kids are able to express themselves respectfully though. Respectfully. And in other households, that can look like disrespect. That can seem like, I don't know what y'all be doing over there, but over here this way, or certain things that the kids eat with me certain things that the kids eat with me that they don't eat at their father's house. It's like certain things like that, or just the electronic rule. There's less control that you have over those other environments, what makes it a little bit harder when you're trying to parent your children a certain way. And this is why we go into the aspect of speaking so much as far as why it's extremely important to wait until marriage to have children, or wait until marriage, but also like being abstinent or being celibate and really knowing the person that you're connecting with, really knowing their childhood, how they grew up, the roles that their parents has played in their lives. And it's so go ahead, I'll let you get in because I want to but me and my husband, we talk about that so much because it's so important because of the influence that you have over the children in the household is completely different. And then you have to juggle between what they're being told in one household as well as what they're being told in the other. And then also you're unaware of the other outside influences when the children are not in your possession. I was gonna say possession, but outside of that, I feel like co-parenting, when you're co-parenting with someone who isn't mature, they think that every conversation is an argument, and so you have to be able to deal with people where they are, and then also be able to take that step back and just kind of evaluate yourself. But it's very, very important that we take the time to get to know people, that we take the time to really ask all the questions that matter. And I think that a lot of times we jump into situations where we don't necessarily ask those questions, or we don't necessarily go deep enough to really understand the family history of people, because those cycles, those are just cycles. But yeah, that's pretty much like how I feel. I'm gonna let my husband jump in. I know I kind of talked a little bit,
points,
but yeah, I don't want to take over.
For sure. And so from my perspective so I had my first son at 16 going on 17. We conceived him at 16. He was here when I was 17. My second son we had when I was 17 going on 18. So we had children extremely young. So our co-parenting journey has been pretty extensive. From my perspective, we're constantly changing, right? So we want to respect that change, and some people are elevating for the better, some are elevating in their own way, whatever that looks for them. But when we are changing, we have to understand that we have to give that person that space to grow. And I think a lot of times when we have children young, we always recognize that person. Let me not say always, but I say in my case, or in cases that I've seen, I feel that they want to remember you as the 16, 17, 18-year-old man that was doing all this wild stuff, doing all this crazy stuff. You don't have room to elevate, like you don't have room to grow. And so when you do grow, and when you do get to that space spiritually, you change as a parent, because we're constantly elevating. So when now I'm married, so you have additional 3 children. And so with that dynamic, I've grown spiritually. So it's a new dynamic for me. So communication, to your point, baby, is key. Is having that clear communication. Unlike the 2 that we have living in the house, which we have 3 of them living in the house now, so we don't really have to deal with where their influences is at outside the environment, unless it's school or them going to a birthday party or something of that nature. We don't have to really worry about them going back and forth into another household. With our other 3, which is our oldest 2 sons and Jelena, so they're going to different households back and forth. So with that dynamic, we have to constantly go back and forth with reprogramming or redirecting where they're at spiritually, what they're thinking on a day-to-day basis, because we don't really know what that household is providing on a day-to-day basis. And that's scary when it comes to co-parenting. The way we waited was key, and that speaks to even how we parent journey. It's just a different dynamic of parenting when you really built that foundation and you really have that spiritual awareness of where you want these children to go and where they want to be aligned with God. Because when we had our first, I'm not for speaking personally, when we had Jaden, Javion, and Jelena, I wasn't grounded spiritually. So the things that I was implementing, the type of parent I was, it wasn't healthy for the way that they were growing. And now that I have the understanding, I'm trying to implement these things. I'm trying to be this type of figure. And I'm going.
One second. I'm here. Not trying. You are.
I'm being this type of figure. I appreciate you, baby. And that's my battle on a day-to-day basis. And so co-parenting, in some cases I've seen, is ran smoothly. They don't have no issues. Everybody's on one page. We can go to basketball games. Everybody cool. And in certain instances, it's toxic if you don't have that spiritual foundation. It can be very, very detrimental to the children's growth and how they and the things that they are embracing on a day-to-day basis. And as young men, indigenous men, of course, I call black men indigenous because that's a whole nother conversation. But as these young men, it's important to have these spiritual morals, especially in this day and age when there's so many temptations, there's so many distractions. And our teenagers are hit with it on a day-to-day basis, but they're grounded young men. They're solid young men, and I know that comes from the foundation I was able to set just from having a man of God as a father in my life. Even though I wasn't practicing those things as a teenager, I was doing a lot of crazy things. That's a whole nother conversation as well. But knowing that God is present and having that father figure in the house is speaking to the man I am today, and I really appreciate that. I appreciate you, Pops, for that for sure. A lot of the things I didn't catch on early to, but as a 33-year-old man, I'm able to implement a lot of those things. A lot of that stuff is golden now. My uncle as well, a man of God, that's big for me for sure.
It's extremely important to wait until marriage, and we don't really understand how many gifts come with that. And I believe I don't know if I said it in the last video, one of my homegirls, her fiance, or I believe they may be married now, that he said like sex is the gift of marriage. And we don't really realize that it really is. It's such a spiritual thing. It's such a thing that is so sacred, and to be able to have a child after that, you're able to, like, literally when they say like first comes love, then comes marriage, then comes the baby.
That came just like that.
But you really get to witness, like us today, we really get to witness that, and it's just so important to really be able to take those things, because everything is spiritual, whether you want to admit it or not. Everything is spiritual. And you know what I'm saying? And even the people that we were connected with prior, even the people that you're connected with now, like my husband and I connecting with something that was spiritual. So it's like we are all spiritual beings, whether people want to admit that or walk into that. You got to be able to understand that everything is spiritual. And so to be parents and be as spiritual as we are now, and implementing the things that we're implementing now, it's hard to break those habits. It's hard to separate the teachings and everything that has already been instilled.
My family pretty much we just the adjustments we talked about.
Just adjustments is like adjusting to co-parenting, but also it's even adjustment to having older kids, and then
the age differences.
Because it's 15, 14, 9, 8, 3, and then the newborn. There's so many ages, and one thing that I said like that I wanted to work on this year was just really meeting all of our kids where they are, and just being able to shift. And that making that adjustment is something that I truly desire. But outside of that, we definitely want to get more into our celibacy. We definitely want to talk more about some challenges that we face. Also, just answer a few more questions, because we still have some questions that we have received from people. Like I said, not a whole lot of people participated, but we get questions all the time, and people ask us stuff all the time. But this is Coach Tasha Del. Oh, you know what? Actually, before we get off, like I said, shameless plug. I do want to I do want to plug our ebook. It's called Yes Ladies, I'm Celibate, and you could purchase the ebook on Amazon. And
how much is it, baby?
I don't know. Don't put me on the spot like that. I think it's like $6. I think it's like $6, $7 or something like that.
It's affordable.
It's extremely affordable. But the thing about it is that people don't even realize, and that's just an ebook. That's not even like in depth of like really how much further we can go with it. But people don't realize how spiritual sex really is.
So the main family adjustment that we wanted to touch on was the co-parenting, because that's a big thing in our adjustment was the children.
Yes.
And not necessarily the children
right
being cohesive. It was the co-parents and everybody being cohesive.
Yeah.
And so we want to let you know that it might not be easy, but continue to put God first, implement those teaching that you give them on a day-to-day basis, affirm those babies, let them know how powerful they are, how strong they are, how beautiful they are, and God is going to fix everything. Everything is already written. So if you continue to walk down the path that you're walking down, everything else will align with it. And that's where we're going through now. It's not picture perfect now. Trust and believe. We still going through these issues. We still having arguments, and we're just trying to go about it in a spiritual way instead of a natural way. And we're giving you the results of that, and those things are working. And so if we can give you any game, is to stay aligned with God first and keep them babies prayed up, especially if the co-parenting situation is toxic. And so we're just praying for all of those situations out there that aren't on point.
Yes, ladies, I'm celibate. That's the ebook
on Amazon,
and it's on Amazon.
On Amazon, go
it's
get it.
It's on Kindle. It's on all that stuff.
Support.
On all the platforms.
And we know this is part of our purpose. Every Monday we could be popular.
Yes. So this is a wrap for Marriage Mondays. I'm Coach Tasha Delk.
Cleo the coach.
All right, y'all. Thanks. Y'all like, subscribe, comment, give us some feedback. We just truly appreciate the people that have supported, the people who have watched the videos. But this is number 3 for us. And we just want to make sure that we're being consistent. All right, guys.